This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are we doing today on this Monday? Happy Monday. It's a Victory Monday if you're an Alabama fan. This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You're watching us on the BamaCentral YouTube channel or checking us out on my own social media machines at Joe Gaither 6. We invite you to check us out right there or download, rate, review, subscribe to the show, the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or on Amazon. We appreciate everybody who does that. We're going to have a lot of fun today, and we're going to break down and get into Alabama's 41-34 victory over the Georgia Bulldogs this past weekend right there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. It was an absolute madhouse. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of start off with kind of a visceral reaction and just kind of tell you how we experienced the game. And then we'll get into the actual football portion. We'll talk about Alabama jumping up 28-0 and then letting the lead slip away. We'll talk about really how Jalen Milroe played, Ryan Williams, the trick plays that Nick Sheridan used. We'll talk about the Alabama defense forcing 4 different turnovers and having a really strong two and a half quarters or so, 2.5 quarters, and then kind of really having a hard time dealing with Georgia as they were going balls to the wall, all out to try to get back into the game. So we'll talk about it all right here on the Joe Gaither Show. And we invite you to jump in and join us on the comment section right there on the social media machines. You can leave us a comment, question, query, or complaint. What did you think about the Alabama and Georgia game? Well, how did you think about the Alabama Crimson Tide played? What can they work on? What can they take away? Should the coaching staff, how many lessons? Oh my goodness. So many different lessons for not only the players, but the coaching staff also as a whole. Their first SEC experience, and what better introduction than dealing with the Georgia Bulldogs. So let's talk about it right here on the Joe Gaither Show. Before we do, we need to tell you about our friends, Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. It's free. You got nothing to lose. That's 877-787-6635. You'll schedule your appointment. One of their qualified employees will come check out your roof, and they'll make sure that you are prepared for all of life's storms. You can also check them out online at roofturtle.com. So let's get right into it. Let's have a lot of fun on a Monday. And let's talk about Alabama beating the Georgia Bulldogs 41-34. And let's just take you right through my own experience, and then we'll talk about the game. First off, we live, if you listen to the show at any portion of the time, we live maybe 2 or 3 miles away from the stadium. So we were just outside the hoopla, and we got over into the hoopla about 2 o'clock, and it was a madhouse over there around the stadium. Just people everywhere, and the bumper traffic on University and on Paul Bryant and on, what is that, Red Drew and Wallace Wade, lots of, 10th Avenue, just people everywhere. For us in the media, it was an interesting experience because of former President Donald Trump, also obviously running for president right now, coming to the game. The security protocols were obviously ramped up for everyone, but for us in the media, we had, since I had a nice parking pass, thank you, University of Alabama, we appreciate you for giving that to us. We had to go through this little, basically, road, and the Secret Service searched our car. It was crazy. We popped the hood, we opened up all the car doors, and they searched the car. Luckily, we didn't have any bombs or firearms or anything, I guess, that would set off anybody. Got through to the parking lot A-okay. That was it. Look, they were super nice. They were super nice about it. It was a pretty smooth process for what it was. So for all the consternation about it through the week, it wasn't that big a deal. So we get parked. And we work our way in front of the stadium, and we work our way through their security. And obviously there was an extra layer of security as well. And once again, granted, this was 2:30, 2:45, so it was pretty smooth for us early in the day. We got into the stadium really, really smoothly. The credential process was as normal, but the security for everything that we made of it last week, at least from my experience, at 2:45 or so. Obviously, the game was at 6:30, so not all of you guys were in line at 2:45. But I wanted to get my butt on in there and kind of get to work. It was a smooth process dealing with the security, and so that could not have been a better experience, really. You get into the press box and you're hanging out, and you're watching the games. And oh my gosh, Oklahoma beats Auburn. You see Peyton Thorne throwing the interception, and you couldn't believe it. But what's a wild day, just kind of hanging out, waiting. They opened the gates, and it was like the game was at 5:00. The stadium flooded open and flooded full fairly quickly. The student section filled up fairly quickly. And yeah, even as the afternoon wore on, we were seeing pictures outside Bryant-Denny Stadium of the masses. But it seemed, and please let me know in the comments section if you attended, but it seemed like a pretty smooth experience getting into the stadium. And then it was lit the whole day. I know I'm not that young, but it was crazy all day, all afternoon. The people, the crowd was intense the entire time. And that was a pretty good Georgia contingent. And if you know the press box in Bryant-Denny Stadium, if you know anything about kind of how it's configured, the visiting fans are, right there sort of in front of us. And they had a good time. Obviously, not in the first half, but they had a good time. We got down to the field, and they were having a ball by the time we got down to the field with 6 minutes left in the game. But the Georgia crowd brought a pretty nice little crowd, and everybody was into it. But the atmosphere was extremely loud. It was extremely intense. They showed former President Trump, I think, at the end of the first quarter. It was all hazy, the timing, and I don't know how they did it on TV for you guys. But they showed him in the stadium and a big old cheer and big old USA, USA, USA. And obviously there was a bunch of interesting people in that box: John Daly, Katie Britt, Tommy Tuberville, obviously senator. But goodness, you got to wonder how Tommy Tuberville experiences this game. I'm here to, kiss the ring per se, but also I'm sitting in my former rival stadium, and obviously Georgia, my former rival as well. Must have been an odd experience for Tommy Tuberville. Herschel Walker was in the box. You saw Hank Williams Jr., Kid Rock, lots of characters, whether they be on the political spectrum or not, or in the pop culture spectrum as well. So must have been to be a fly on the wall in that box. Clay Travis was in there. So to be a fly in the wall in that box for a little while. But obviously he got shown big old crowd reaction, everybody cheering USA, USA. And it just kept, for all intents and purposes, no matter where you land on the political scale, his appearance just kept the fever pitch at a high level. It just the lull in the game. They showed Donald Trump on the crowd or on the big screen, and boom, the crowd just reignites. And so it definitely served a purpose to reignite the crowd. And obviously, I guess he got what he wanted from that as well. And the security worked out smoothly. It seemed like that was no big issue. All right, so my experience as well for the game is I was assigned to live updates. Great, awesome. Alabama scores, Alabama turnover again, Alabama scores. Wow, what a game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm still going in the second half. And, if you know anything about what we're doing here over at BamaCentral.com, I am assigned to write the 3 or 4 paragraph, just big picture, big brush, nothing, not really heavy details. This is what happened. And I've already written Alabama serves haymaker, first quarter haymaker, first half haymaker to the Georgia Bulldogs. Jalen Milroe, great game. Jalen Milroe, X number of touchdowns. I've got the blank sitting there ready to go. Alabama moves on to play at Vanderbilt. Georgia tries to rebound against Auburn next week. Blah, blah, blah. Short and sweet, big old knockout punch, holds on to the victory, cruises to win. And I go down to the field. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get on with the post game and see the finish of the game. And by the time I get down there, Georgia has thrown their bomb. I think it was to Arian Smith down to the 1 yard line. They eventually throw it to Lawson Lucky, get into the end zone right there and score a touchdown to cut it again. I'm thinking, okay, well, you still got it. You what? 6 minutes left. You can burn some time, Alabama. You have another really, really quick drive for the Crimson Tide. Flip it back over to Carson Beck, and I'm on the Alabama sidelines at this point, and you get the bomb shot to Dylan Bell over Keon Sabb, and Keon Sabb, can't get the tackle, and he gets into the end zone, and they're taking the lead, and the Georgia contingent is just all beside themselves. And it was a scene. It was an absolute scene on the sidelines, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, guys, what in the world? What in the world? This is incredible. And also, I'm thinking to myself, I've got to rewrite my little topper, and I don't have any good service. I'm down here playing on my laptop on the sidelines, trying about, Georgia, miraculous comeback. Oh, Alabama lets it slip. Alabama, 28-3. Atlanta Falcons, 28-0. The worst comeback loss ever. All kinds of visions are going through my head. And then the child, Ryan Williams, gets his pass, and the place just falls all on top of itself. I'm standing there right next to Reese Davis and with Will Miller and Hunter DeCiver, and all of us have the same dumbfounded look on our face. You can see it on your keyboard, on your emoji keyboard, the jaw drop, just hands to your face. Ryan Williams saves the day for Alabama, goes on. Xavier Brown saves it again for the defense as Carson Beck just refused to go down without emptying every single bullet that he had. And that's all she wrote. Xavier Brown gets the interception. And we're walking on the field. And I'm, you see Kalen DeBoer, he's getting interviewed. I see Xavier Brown, and he's getting dapped up by every single person you can imagine. And you can check this out on BamaCentral.com. Basically, my view walking on the field on the YouTube channel, on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. I've got it, Xavier Brown emotional walking off, I think is what I titled it. But you've got Xavier, and Mo Linguist, the cornerbacks coach, just comes up out of nowhere and just bear hugs him out of the edges. And I'm standing, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet away from him, not far at all. And it's just really special to see a young kid who had been battling. And look, he had a tough game. Got targeted, got picked on a lot. And to be the hero in the end and have everybody celebrate him, and not only did Mo Linguist have that big old hug, but Kane Womack came up right after that and was another big old hug. It's right there on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. It was a night I will never forget, and a night you will probably never forget if you're an Alabama or Georgia fan. It was just a really special time in Bryant-Denny Stadium. But there was a lot that went into it. Oh, my gosh. There was a ton to get into it. God, it was like a football. It was like drinking from a fire hose. The adjustments that were being made, the schematics that were kind of being worked on, and what the offensive and defensive coordinators were trying to do to each other. Really, what Nick Sheridan was trying to induce, and what they were trying to force Georgia to do. I thought it was just a masterclass on the way they were trying to get after the Georgia Bulldogs in the first half. And the adjustments that Georgia, they didn't make very many adjustments schematically, but they just started to rise up and make plays. And when you have these two high-level football programs, it was really a mixture of high-level scheme, one team versus the other. They're going up against each other, and who's got the better scheme, who is anticipating, who is predicting the other's move a little bit better. And then it basically becomes who's got the most special players, who's got the more special players, excuse me. And you saw special players making plays on Saturday night. And so let's get right into the actual football. That was just kind of my experience. Let's get into the actual football. Alabama gets up 28-0. And really, you receive the football and you think, okay, if you can get off to a good start here, that'd be great. And they did exactly that. They drove straight down the football field, but really, they had no business on that first drive, getting points. You get 3 penalties. You overcome an illegal formation, a holding, an illegal shift, and it sets you back. And you're talking about it. Look, if you listen to the show at all last week, towards the end of the week, I gave you keys to the game. You have to stay on schedule. Well, Alabama got off schedule a couple of times in the first drive, and you're thinking, this is not a good sign. This is not what you want to be doing. But Jalen Bleepin Milroe is such an athlete, is such an unquantifiable force in college football that it makes it so difficult to really stay the course defensively. If you're the Georgia Bulldogs, you get them into 1st and 19 after a block in the back. I think it was Tyler Booker. You got a block in the back. You get 1st and 19, and or it might have been a holding on the first drive. And boom, Jalen Milroe, you send 6 blitzers against 5 offensive linemen. I'm not a mathematician, are you? But I know that 6 is more than 5. So 1's coming free for Georgia, and Jalen Milroe just slips a guy. Just slips right past him, give him a little shimmy in the pocket, and boom, it's 17, 18 yards, and Alabama's looking at 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2. Like, what? This is really he puts Georgia into such a bind throughout the whole first quarter and really the entire game. And his decision-making was at such a really a high level. You saw him just getting the football out, going from 1 to 2 to 3, or going from staying underneath, hitting a lot of CJ Dupree. He played such an impressive game, in my opinion, that it really just made things so challenging for Georgia defensively in the first half. And then you paired it up with, okay, Georgia's seeing things kind of snowball on them on the defensive side of the ball. Well, on the offensive side, you're getting a few breaks. I mean, goodness gracious, the very first drive of the game, Carson Beck throws a touchdown pass to Arian Smith over Xavier Brown's head. And Arian Smith right through his hands. So you got some good breaks, and you made some good breaks. You got the Damani Jackson interception, set you up on short yardage, right? And you listen to it afterwards. Kirby Smart says, oh, everybody, we're audibling to a call. And the wide receiver, the guy who's going to get the ball on the screen pass, doesn't get the call. And basically Carson Beck throws it into the back. Damani Jackson, makes a play. And Damani has been such an underrated player on this defense all throughout the 4 games. I think everybody's giving a lot of love to the freshmen because they're fun and cool. But Damani, maybe because he's a little quieter, has played excellently, in my opinion. He's been basically a no-go zone for the other team because it's been all about, hey, let's pick on the inexperience. That is Xavier Brown and Jalen Mbakwe. Let's leave this guy, Damani Jackson, former 5-star, alone. And he's been holding his own, locking it down on that side. And so he becomes the beneficiary of a little miscommunication. Sure, it's misfortune, but hey, my man's in the right place at the right time. And again, the breaks just start to snowball on Georgia. You get Nick Sheridan using empty. Look, Kirby Smart said it at halftime. Now, Kirby's wrong. A little bit. Kirby Smart at halftime says, as Alabama's up, what was it at halftime? 30-7, right? You get the safety. You gave up a touchdown. Georgia's starting to crawl back in it. Kirby's saying, oh, Alabama's throwing the ball out of empty more than they ever have, more than we've seen on film. And that might have been his experience in the moment. And obviously it was his experience in the moment. But if he thought back to the Wisconsin film, and you thought back to the Ryan Williams touchdown, the first Ryan Williams touchdown, and you think back to, I think, Jeremy Bernard, his touchdown was out of empty as well. But you get into empty a lot. You remember, the first Ryan Williams touchdown was a repeat play that should have gone to a big play to Emmanuel Henderson earlier on the first drive. Alabama likes empty. Alabama likes to line up in empty, and you think, oh, what is that, Joe? Is that what I said? It's not 5 wide. You see the guys, and it looks like 5 wide because all 5 guys are split out in the formation, but it's really empty because you've got running back Jam Miller or Justice Haynes split all the way out on one side, and you've got tight end CJ Dupree or Josh Cuevas or Robbie Hewitt split all the way out on the other. And so you're in 11, right? But you've got 3 wide receivers. What you have done is you're manipulating the linebackers to say, are you in man coverage or not? and the safeties as well. One of the safeties probably taking a tight end or just depending on how they want to scheme it. Do you want to scheme a safety on a running back? Do you want to scheme a safety on a tight end? Do you want to scheme a linebacker? What you want to do? How you want to do it? Basically, it allows Jalen Milroe to come to the line and say, you guys are all spread out, right? You're all spread out. I can kind of read your formation a little bit better. You think back to the Ryan Williams bomb shot, the first one, not the hero play, but the first one. Well, it was a hero play. The first one that's a post down the seam. It sets up the only field goal of the game late in the third quarter for Graham Nicholson. He tips it up in the air to himself. He brings it down, and Malachi Starks tackles him after another nice little run after the catch. But Alabama's an empty in that as well. Alabama goes back in and out of empty throughout the entire game because it allows Jalen Milroe to kind of get into a flow and see what coverage we're in. And on that particular play to Ryan Williams, he sees two high safeties and he knows, okay, my middle field is going to be the read here. If I can just hang in here, I've got superstar wide receiver Ryan Williams running a post. You guys have lined up in too high. That's the read. And boom, sit. Give my man a shot. Was it the best pass? Nah, it wasn't the best pass, but it was definitely good enough. Ryan Williams made the most out of it, tipping it up to himself. The fact of the matter is that Alabama is using empty, and they used it against Wisconsin as well. So Kirby was a little wrong there, but used it way more. I mean, they used it, they used it more for sure against Georgia than they did against Wisconsin, but they definitely threw the ball out of empty against Wisconsin. The issue is you've got everyone spread wide. Well, running lanes for Jalen Milroe are now more prevalent. And then you've got everybody spread wide. I can see your formation. I can see your coverage. I know who's blitzing. I can plan for that. I think it just helps Jalen Milroe see the field. And he was definitely seeing it on Saturday, starting 11 for 11. Now, you get into the offensive line, and I think the offensive line had a really, really strong game. You protected Jalen Milroe very well on the stat sheet. It's officially 0 sacks on the stat sheet, right? Yeah, it's officially 0 sacks on the stat sheet. You got 173 rushing yards. Now there was a couple, tackle for no gain or that sort of thing. The biggest issue on the offensive line to me was Elijah Pritchett. Elijah Pritchett had a huge assignment dealing with Michael Williams a lot. He was dealing with a lot of the Georgia edge rushers. And Elijah did fine. I mean, look, all right, we're being harsh. We're nitpicking. Elijah did really well. No sacks. But I would have liked to have seen Elijah have a bit of a better set, a little bit of a better base, because Michael Williams and the other defensive linemen for Georgia a lot of times were walking Elijah Pritchett right back into Jalen Milroe's lap. Now, did it result in any sacks? No, but it did speed up the timing on several of the plays, especially in the second half. Particularly in the second half when Alabama's offense was having some trouble finding its way. But that was really the only negative. 173 rushing yards. You really got it done on the ground. You dictated to Georgia. My biggest gripe for the running game, people asked me, and I appreciate any comments. You can always leave me comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, right there at Joe Gaither 6, or find me whatever on your social medias, saying, Joe, why didn't we run the football more in the second half? Why didn't the running backs run the football more in the second half? You look at the running production, and you saw Justice Haynes get himself into the end zone, right? Yeah, he did get himself in the end zone, but he got called back on that first drive. That's why it says 0 on the stat sheet. He got called back. He was 6 carries for 35 yards. He had a long of 23. You take that away, right? You take that away. What's that? 12 yards. 5 carries for 12 yards for Justice Haynes. He's not really been, outside of a few explosive plays, outside of a few explosive runs, he's not really been effective this year. Not from a down in and down out basis. And look, I don't love calling players out. I don't. I want to give players a lot of time. I want to kind of see what's going on. But at this point, you're 4 games in, and you're not. You walked into the season thinking you've got the meanest running back duo in the SEC. Yeah, you're going to be just crushing teams. Jalen Milroe is just going to be that extra elite. No, Jalen Milroe has been leading the pack. Now, that's not a bad thing. But Justice Haynes just hasn't really He got himself a huge 85-yarder against Western Kentucky. He did get himself a 23-yarder against Georgia, so that was a nice little run. You did get a chunk play down the left sideline, following your blocks, and Kendrick Law was just absolutely mauling the man on that play. But you got to get more out of Justice Haynes as the season continues. And maybe there's something going on that I'm not aware of. Absolutely, it's always a possibility. But Justice has just not really been as dynamic as you would like. Now, Jam was involved a pretty decent amount in the passing game, obviously with the touchdown, on the wheel route. But you didn't get Jam only 5 carries on the game. Now, you look at it, 5 carries, 8 yards, 1.6 yards a carry. Georgia was really, really focused on those guys, I felt like. But I also felt like Alabama not abandon the run. I think there was a kind of an understanding that Alabama's best bet in the running game was going to be getting Jalen Milroe out into open space. And my man had 117 rushing yards. Now, when you were called upon, you do got to get more than 1.6 yards per carry from Jam Miller. And you do got to get more. Look, on 4th and 1, while you're still rolling, while the drives are still rolling in your favor, that's really what I thought. I mean, started the Georgia momentum for the game. Yeah, Georgia ended up getting a touchdown, I think, on the drive earlier. On the drive earlier. Was that what it is? They started that drive at 12:24. Yeah. On the drive earlier, they got a touchdown to make it 28-7. Well, you're still going. Your chunk play, 7-play, 40-yard drive gets stopped on 4th and 1 because Dan Jackson fills an alley lane and decides he's more of a man than Justice Haynes is. And look, he's on scholarship too, and you absolutely want to credit the Georgia players who are on scholarship for making plays. And I think that's really what it came down to in the game. Which side was going to make plays more consistently, and all that to say is I'd like to see more from Justice Haynes on a more consistent basis. The only negative for Jalen really on the whole game was the interception. Interception down in the red zone on the next drive, on drive number 6, right? Drive number 6, you have the interception in the red zone. You've just taken over. I believe it was Jihad Campbell who gets a pick and gives you great field position. Not 2 plays later, right? 2 plays later, you got Jeremy Bernard running a bit of a seam post from the seam, and kind of CJ Dupree kind of leaking in to replace him. And Dupree blocks, kind of gets his chip and replaces, and Jalen Milroe finds him. But maybe could have been a better decision, or maybe could have been a better pass. It was a little hot, just a little hot and a little low. It wasn't the worst pass in the world. I hesitate to say it was inaccurate. Now, CJ Dupree said it's my fault in the locker room after CJ Dupree is turning. He catches, or he's trying to catch. Ball pops up, and boom, Dan Jackson again makes a big play for Georgia. 2 consecutive drives. Dan Jackson stops Alabama drives. And look, Dan was in the right place at the right time. But Jalen, was it the wrong decision to throw it to CJ Dupree right there? No. But it might have reconsidered it, because of the traffic around him. There was a lot of traffic. You did get it there. You did get it to your target. Could have been a little bit more on target. Could have been a little more towards his chest. Could have been a little easier catch. But definitely CJ Dupree could have made the catch. Ball pops up in the air. Dan Jackson comes down with it. Another opportunity for points lost. So you've lost two opportunities for points. It's still in the first half while things are rolling, just due to maybe a little bit of attention to detail. And that's what I think happened to the Alabama offense. Attention to detail started to slip after you get up 28-0. You're rolling. You're up 28-0. You see the defense get a safety. You think things are sweet. But Georgia is just creeping. Let's keep going on the Alabama offense. But before I do, and we want to talk about the trick plays, because I got a lot of thoughts. I want to talk about the trick plays. I want to talk about the second half offense. I want to talk about Ryan Williams. But I need to tell you about my friend Derek Daniel at State Farm. Derek Daniel will handle all of your home, life, and auto insurance needs. You can call him today at 205-758-3391. like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. You need that local agent. You need somebody who knows the area like the back of his hand. Derek Daniel is that guy. He's got a great team of associates that'll take care of you on the phone. Red, Reese, and Victoria. We appreciate them. They'll be easy to talk to. Call them today at 205-758-3391. They can get you sorted out for all of your home, life, and auto insurance needs. If you're new to the area, finding a new place to rent, you need some renter's insurance as well. They can take care of pretty much all of your insurance needs. Derek Daniel, like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. Call them today at 205-758-3391. All right, so look, we're getting into attention to detail. And we're talking about the Alabama offense. And we're talking about these trick plays is my next thought. And I got a real sick feeling to my stomach watching these trick plays get called in the press box in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And I got a real sick feeling in my stomach last night rewatching them. So sick to my stomach that I had to ask Nick Sheridan about them today in our press conference. And I appreciate Nick Sheridan for receiving the question. I don't think I presented it that smoothly, but basically I was trying to ask him, what the hell are you thinking? I was trying to put it in a smoother fashion, in a softer fashion. I was trying to put it in a presentable fashion, per se, because, look, he's an offensive coach. He knows way more than I do. But I'm sitting up there watching these trick plays. You see double pass to Kendrick Law. Kendrick Law supposed to get a pass, throw it up to C.J. Dupree down the field. It just wasn't there. You credit the Georgia Bulldogs for being on their P's and Q's. Well, Kendrick Law gets hurt on the play. Look, that's not a factor. You can't think that that's a factor. So, okay, you get a pass. That's not really your fault for getting Kendrick Law hurt. He can get hurt on any play, anytime. He is a hell of a player and playing very, very physically. So it could have happened anytime. But you just didn't need it. You started running these trick plays. I think the first one came on drive number 3, maybe drive number 4, the last touchdown drive of the first half, right? You just didn't need it, and just was just flabbergasting. 4 different trick plays. 3 of them didn't work. One of them worked okay-ish, but it just was too fancy. It was too much. Your regular offense was working fine. I just didn't understand going to the double pass for Kendrick Law. You go to a handoff. It was a handoff to Jeremy Bernard, a flip to Emmanuel Henderson. So a reverse, a reverse pass, a flip back, a reverse double pass. Is that kind of what it was? Because he hands off to Jeremy Bernard coming across. Jeremy flips it back to Emmanuel Henderson, who's coming back across to the right, and Emmanuel Henderson flips it to Jalen Milroe, who threw it back out to Jeremy Bernard. All this complicated stuff. The ball's flying every which way, and you were being way more effective just getting after the Georgia edges, just getting onto the Georgia perimeter, just moving them side to side and going vertically down the field quickly at the first seam. Okay, I get it. Some of those concepts matched up. Moving Georgia side to side, that could have been a huge plays. It could have been huge plays, but you didn't need to go to those wells. Jeremy Bernard gets blown up on the second one, 6-7 yard loss, just a nothing play, right? You did get some plays, some good positive yards off the direct snap, and that was beautiful. It was a beautiful play and well-timed as well because it looked like regular offense and the play functioned quickly. If you don't know what we're even talking about, then that's how well it worked. Jalen Milroe lines up in pistol formation. He's hollering XYZ ABC. He turns to the Alabama sideline and starts walking away. And as he turns, he gives the clap and boom, direct snap. You're hoping that Jalen Milroe walking away will relax the defense at the point of attack. And it did result in 4, 5, 6 yards. Wasn't a first down, but it did result in a positive play. Now, your fourth trick play, I mean, these last two, the direct snap and kind of the I don't even know what you want to call it. It's definitely a screen, but the fake snap, the fake timing of the snap. Second half, you have what's supposed to be like a screen to Justice Haynes, and Justice gets his ass blown up on the play, but Parker Brailsford snaps the ball. Parker snaps the ball. All the linemen don't move. None of the other linemen move. And so you're kind of you're kind of trying to trick the Georgia defensive linemen a little bit to invite the rush upfield, but they're kind of in a sense of confusion because nobody's moving and nobody comes upfield. And then you dump it off to Justice Haynes, who gets blown up. And I get it. The lack of movement from the offensive line is supposed to kind of be a play on the defensive line. It's supposed to confuse things, but they never got out of their stances. They're supposed to get out of their stances and start blocking upfield. Never really even happened. And so you have 3 trick plays, or 2 definitely a trick play. I think it's 4, plays with wrinkles in them, and 3 of them didn't work. And okay, I get the fact that you want to show Georgia, you want to see if they're ready for it, you want to test them. But to me, I'm thinking, why are you doing this, Nick Sheridan? What are we doing here? The Alabama offense is humming at this point, 100 miles an hour, and executing at a high level, executing concepts that the team has been executing all season long. And then, look, I'm not saying I'm one for don't incorporate new concepts and new plays. No, heck yeah. Let's see new concepts and new plays over the course of time. But just a little too fancy. Just a little too fancy. It made me think to myself, why are you doing this? And the only explanation I could come up with was, well, 1, you think it's going to work. Duh, you do think it's going to work. But 2, you put it on film, and you say, if we're going to run these plays against Georgia, we'll run them against you. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're Western Tech University or whether you're Ohio State or Texas. If we'll run these plays against Georgia, we'll run these plays against anybody. And so I think there's a little bit of a positive to that. But to me, it made me think back to many times where I was playing video games with maybe a younger cousin or a brother or somebody who, I don't have any brothers, but somebody who's maybe not good at playing a football video game. Let's just say that. And I wanted to get fancy and say, hey, let's try this play. Let's try that play. It made me think, Nick Sheridan, you don't respect these Bulldogs at all. Now, I don't think that was in his heart. I don't think that was in his heart at all. I think that he thought, I'm going to get one and we're going to get a big play for a touchdown and everything's going to work out great and it's going to ramp up the momentum even more. I'm sure that that's what he thought. But I thought, from my perspective, there was a little bit of let's roll the Rolodex. Let's spin the Rolodex, and whatever it comes up with, double reverse pass? Okay, let's do it. We'll roll. Let's call that. Everything else is working fine. I'm sure there's a lot more thought that goes into it than that. Absolutely there is. But they just didn't seem like they fit. Those decisions didn't seem like they fit on Saturday night. They didn't seem like they fit with the precision, we want to get the ball into our playmakers' hands as quickly as possible. Look, that's what was going on all night. You threw the ball to CJ Dupree 4, 5, 6 yards away. Kendrick Law got a couple. Ryan Williams got a couple. Just a bunch of little button hooks, right? You get the ball into their hands, and they turn and make a play. They turn and turn a 4-yard gain into an 8-yard gain, turn a 4-yard gain into a 12-yard gain because they bust a tackle. They just didn't really fit those sorts of concepts. Now, look, Nick Sheridan knows way more offensive football than I can fathom. So take that for what it is. My criticism is that of a peon, that of someone who's never called a play. I watch football because I love it, but they didn't make sense to me. I tried to ask him about him today, and he gave me a fine answer, basically thinking that, when we see something, we want to call something, we want to be diverse, that sort of thing, kind of canned. You got to have these stuff in our playbook. And, of course, you do have to have fun plays in your playbook. It keeps the players energized. And, of course, I'm sure when that play got called in the huddle, everybody, just got a little, this is going to be fun. Let's go make it happen. Unfortunately, Georgia was just all over it and ready for it. Now, with the second half, this kind of ties into it. With the second half and the execution, I think that really you saw Georgia just make some plays. And you saw the decision-making that Jalen did really, really well in the first half. Oh, my gosh, probably the best decision-making we have seen out of Jalen Milroe in an Alabama uniform. But the second half, a little bit of waning. You come out, first play, RPO. You get the stop from Georgia, which I thought, okay, that's great. You get the stop. Maybe you can get a score, and boom, the route is back on. But instead, it's a 3-and-out, and you punt it back to Georgia and give them an opportunity, and you just kept giving them opportunities. First play of the second half, Jalen Miller takes it. It's an RPO, and it probably should have been a give to Justice Haynes, and might have resulted in 3, 4, who knows how many yards, but a small gain, positive play. Instead, he pulls it, and nothing wrong with that. That's what he saw. But you're not on the right page with the receivers. Both receivers are blocking. Ryan Williams, I think, was supposed to be the target, but Ryan's not turned around. There's nobody to throw to. Georgia's all over. Jalen kind of leaking out, and it's a tackle for a 1 yard for 1 yard loss. Right? It's a tackle for no gain. And these things, you have a pass to Josh Cueva, to CJ Free, a little bit high. You have a pass to Josh Cuevas, a little bit high. Just execution waned just a little bit. I don't think that Georgia did anything different in the second half. And I don't really even think that Alabama did anything different in the second half. And maybe you would have liked to have seen Alabama say, hey, let's take the air out of this a little bit. But I don't think that that's Kalen DeBoer's MO. I think that much like the Alabama basketball coach's MO is go, 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 go. Score. Let's turn this baby up. I think that that's Kalen DeBoer's MO as well. Obviously not to the same use of tempo that Nate Oates uses, but I think it is, hey, let's get after it. Let's be dangerous. Let's be threatening. Let's end every drive in some points. And because of that, you stay in the same go mode in the second half. Yeah, you're up big, but you know that Georgia's coming. You know that they're fighting, so you stay in the same go mode. You don't shut it down and turn it into 4-minute offense right out of the second half. And so really, I think that people who are upset at Alabama's, play calling, I don't think that really was I don't really think that the play calling was the problem in the second half. It was the execution, and the decision making just wasn't as crisp as it was in the first half. And you saw just the margin of error against Georgia is that thin. I do believe it is that thin. All right, we got one more offensive topic. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. We got one more offensive topic to talk about, and it is the child. It's Ryan Williams. What do you want to say about him? He has such a special game. Let me pull up the actual number. What is it, 6 receptions, right? Yeah, 6 receptions, 177 yards, 1 touchdown on 7 targets. And his body control is the difference. His body control is just what is so impressive to me. And people talk about, you should double him. Oh, this, that, and the other. You have a freshman, a 17-year-old who has come into college football with the ability to understand spacing, positioning, and he's just fun. He's just a whole lot of fun. You see him on Saturday night. You saw, obviously, the tip ball into the air and make the catch. I thought that was going to be his highlight. I thought that was going to be the one big play for Ryan Williams right over at Malachi Starks. We pop it up into the air, and we've got the catch, and it results in a field goal, but it was a special, special play. But no, Ryan Williams had more in store. After Georgia takes the lead, you get one play, 75 yards, and really you're on top of number 12 for Georgia just a little bit. You get a back shoulder throw. I mean, credit Jalen Milroe. Everybody talking about his growth, the deep ball shot. We're not much on the back shoulder throw, have we been, Jalen Milroe? But we are on Saturday night. I think that his ball placement has become, he's growing in so many areas. But this is about Ryan and about the kill everyone from the program. Everybody talking about, that's so bad, you can't have that. I think that Ryan Williams is just an elite troll and, perpetually online 17-year-old. You see the program, you get influenced by that late 90s or early 90s movie, and that goes on your eye black. You put the daggum Michael Vick on your profile picture on Sunday after putting up 177 yards and teaching the Bulldogs to behave. Ryan Williams, just where is the ceiling with him? It's hard to say. And think about all the great wide receivers under Nick Saban, the Julio Jones, the Amari Cooper, the Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith. Like, there was a ton of great wide receivers, Jalen Waddle, a ton of first-rounders, Calvin Ridley, just rattling them off, right? None of them were this in their first 4 games. None of them were even close to this. Julio was amazing. And maybe he could have been this if the Alabama offense was opened up in this style. Obviously, it was back under Jim McElwain with Greg McElroy under the helm. So the offense was a different style, but none of them were this impactful 4 games into their college career. He has become a player in 4 games that defensive coordinators are scheming for, that defensive coordinators are planning for. You're hearing Kirby Smart afterwards saying, oh, we can't do anything special about Ryan Williams because of Jalen Milroe and his running ability. They might have the best running back in the country. Oh, and he also throws the football. Talking about Jalen Milroe. And so you pair the two together, the two aliens, the two otherworldly entities in Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams, the two guys who are, look, I know Travis Hunter, probably best athlete in college football, but Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams both have something to say about that. They're both in the top 10-ish. Obviously, you can start submitting your names for best athletes in college football, but I would submit you're not going to find 10 better than Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams together. And the kid's just 17. And so you see what he's doing right now as a 17-year-old, and you just think, oh my gosh, if I were thinking about getting out of media, I'm not now. I'm not getting out of media until this young man is out of Tuscaloosa. No way, Jose. He is something that I've never seen before. I mean, granted, I'm still a little bit on the younger side, trending. Getting a little older. Got a birthday next week, but a little on the younger side. Haven't seen everything, but he is unlike anything I have ever seen before at just 17 years old. And so it's just super, super impressive. All right, let's keep it going. It's going to be a long episode today because we got a lot to get into. It was a huge, huge game right there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And we want to talk about the Alabama defense. Before we talk about the Alabama defense, we want to tell you about Purple Turtle Roofing again. Let me tell you about the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. Purple Turtle Roofing. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your free appointment. One of their qualified employees will come check out your roof and make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. Visit them online at roofturtle.com. All right, let's talk about this Alabama defense. Unbelievable on Saturday for a while. Unbelievable for a while on Saturday, forcing 4 turnovers, 3 sacks. You get several quarterback hurries. You break up 9 different passes. You get 6 different tackles for a loss. You force how many 3 and outs? You go 4 and out. You go 3 and out. If 3 with an interception, 3 with a punt. They score a touchdown. I mean, look, their first half, punt, interception, punt, touchdown. Nice job, Georgia. Interception, safety, halftime, punt. And then they do start to roll a little bit. They go touchdown, fumble, touchdown, interception. That's the game winner right there. Just an incredible day for the Alabama defense. And you could say, oh, Joe, look at the Georgia offense. Look at them. They have 519 yards. Yeah, they had 519 yards. But it was Kane talked about it today. He articulated it much better than I can, talking about when Georgia was in such a hole, they became basically reckless. It was like riding a bull. It's like riding an animal. You're on top of a wild animal. You're on top of a dangerous animal, and you just got to ride that baby and hope it doesn't hurt you. And as it slowly dies, as it continues to die. And look, Georgia, you're not going to go away. You're the number 2 team in the country. You've been on a 40-something game regular season winning streak. You want revenge against Alabama. They weren't going to go away. And so a little adjustments in their offensive plan, and I was surprised. I was definitely surprised about how long it took Georgia to get onto the Alabama perimeter. The same sort of things that Alabama was doing to Georgia, testing the secondary, testing the second level's ability to tackle after a player has made a reception. I thought that was exactly what Georgia was going to do. Okay, it's fine if you want to be off Alabama. We want to hit you underneath and see if you can tackle. It took them a little bit of time to get to some of that stuff. And then, of course, Dylan Bell gets hit over the top as well. And Arian Smith got it over the top a couple of times. But really, Alabama was just kind of riding that beast all the way to the end. Now, the offense didn't really help them. The offense kind of put them in a scary position all the way to the end. But you kind of it's a terribly challenging position because you're not facing an offense in Georgia in the second half that's wildly talented in and of themselves. Is very prideful in and of themselves. You're not going to lay down. We've only scored 7 points. We're down 23 points. We're not going to take this. Carson Beck, he talked about coming back to college football just to play and beat Alabama. So, of course, they're going to come back in the second half and get a little bit after it and use fourth downs. They're 5 of 5 on fourth downs. One of their drives was 3 of 3 on fourth downs. And when you know you're going to be going for it anytime it comes up, we're going for it on fourth down. Doesn't matter. It just kind of frees you just a little bit more on offense. It just kind of frees you to get after a little bit. You can take those shot plays on first, second down, and utilize. Kirby Smart said it. Oh, third down was our second down. So if you're in 3rd and 7, right? Oh man, we just want to run it and get to 4th and 5, get to 4th and 4, and try to convert that instead. I think that Georgia was definitely desperate. I think that Alabama was learning about themselves. And I think, look, you're dealing with a lot of young players on the defense. You're dealing with coaches who are new to the SEC. You're learning how to win in this moment. It wasn't always pretty, but I think it was such a great learning experience for the defense to experience. Look, this offense is coming at us at every angle now. Getting onto the edge. Lawson Lucky got himself into the offense as well, and they got down the field. Carson Beck, look, you earned my respect, Carson Beck. You earned my respect this past week. And I know you had the turnovers, you have the fumble, you have the interceptions, but he laid it all out there. And he drugged Georgia back into the game. He single-handedly drugged Georgia back into the game. And I don't think he played a bad game at all. I think that Alabama just made some plays and tricked him a couple times. Sure. Do you want to avoid getting tricked if you're the quarterback? Absolutely. If you want to make that a negative for Carson, for sure, you can do that. But I walked away Saturday night, and I walked away after rewatching the game very, very impressed with the Georgia quarterback. And frankly, thinking that if he gets another shot at Alabama, it's going to be tough. We'll get into that in just a little bit. We want to talk to you about Druid City Music Hall as we close out the program. They are the premier place for live music on the Strip. You can visit them online at druidcitymusichall.com/shows. This week on Thursday, they're already sold out for Josiah Queen. You can get in on Friday, though. On Friday, October 4th, Quarters of Change is playing, and you can visit them online. Get your tickets at druidcitymusichall.com. To be there on Friday, 8 o'clock, right there on the Strip. Go have you a little dinner, and then go see a concert and enjoy your Friday night. You'll be out of there by 10:15 off the Strip before it gets all crazy. It's a great place to watch a show. Druid City Music Hall is the premier place to watch live music in Tuscaloosa. It's the premier place to watch live music on the Strip, and we appreciate them sponsoring the Joe Gaither Show. Let's close it down right here. By talking about how much of the defense really will grow from this. You had them just basically running you ragged, running you all over the field. And I think that really you get one of those fourth down stops. Look, the credit is to Georgia for fighting back into the game. You get one of those fourth down stops. Now, again, the Alabama offense would have had to have sustained something, and that was a little bit of a struggle in the second half. But you did have a couple of decent drives in the second half. You get one of those fourth down stops, that flips at least at the minimum, flips the field position back again. James Burnap was still such a weapon. Things could have been so much different. Alabama could have kept blowing out Georgia. Georgia could have never been blown out at all if Arian Smith catches the football on their first drive and ties it up 7-7. things could have been so much different on Saturday night. If you play this game again, I don't know what would happen. I do think that really Alabama's offense was a little too much to defend. I do think that Alabama's offense presents challenges for defenses, especially for defensive coordinators who want to cover all their bases. I think that if Alabama and Georgia played again, it would be another great, epic game. And I think you were on track for an Alabama blowout. But if you would have lost, if Georgia would have completed their comeback, if Xavier Brown doesn't catch the interception, it's a Georgia touchdown right there. We're sitting here talking about the worst loss since when? At least it's ULM in 2007. It's worse than that. It's the biggest comeback in a top 5 matchup history, right? And I like what I've seen out of Kalen DeBoer so far, but how would he have bounced back from blowing a 28-point lead? Oh, unbelievable. The circumstances that would have played out in that situation. So Saturday was fascinating for many reasons. I think both sides ultimately got exactly what they wanted out of it. Alabama gets off to a big old lead. They know that, oh, this baby is real. This coaching staff is real. I think that Alabama schemed open and schemed up a lot of points on Saturday night. And I think that this coaching staff kind of announced themselves to the SEC that, hey, we are here schematically as well. We can really supplement our talent. But Georgia got exactly what they wanted outside of the win. They would have loved to have won. But they dig back into it. They get punched in the mouth. If their wake-up call with Kentucky wasn't enough, down 28-0 to Alabama right there in the second quarter, that's got to wake you up. And what did they learn about themselves? They dug themselves back into the game and got a lead. There's no scenario in the rest of their season that's going to be scarier. So I'm sorry. You can go into Texas and be down 28-0, and yeah, that'll be scary as well, but it won't be more than what they saw on Saturday, right? It'll be equal to, right? You can go to Oxford, and that road trip isn't looking as difficult right now. Georgia learned that they can play really with anyone, that they're for real, and that they can dig back into it. They've got a lot of character. And maybe we'll see a rematch of both programs down the line. I think that really, when you look at this Alabama team and when you project a rematch, you pair up and you think about the Alabama coaching staff, Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer, and really Kane Womack on the defensive side as well. You pair them up with the Alabama talent right now, and you have a really, really dangerous marriage for other opponents. You have a dangerous marriage of Jalen Milroe's legs, Ryan Williams' ability, and Kalen DeBoer's ability to put defenses into conflict. If you can get a little more out of really anyone, you're getting enough right now out of the other guys. You're getting enough out of Jam Miller, out of Jeremy Bernard, out of CJ Dupree. They're giving you something. But if you get a little more out of just one guy, and maybe it's Kendrick Law, unfortunately, getting hurt this past Saturday. Maybe it's Jeremy Bernard. Maybe it's Jam Miller. Or maybe it's Justice Haynes kind of finding his form. This Alabama offense is going to be absolutely unstoppable. Right now, really, really dangerous. Still has a little bit of room to grow, a little more attention to detail. You got to clean up the penalties. 10 penalties on Saturday, just not good enough. Not good enough to beat elite competition. It almost had you on the wrong end of the worst comeback in top 5 matchup history. 10 penalties just not going to be good enough. You got to have to improve on that. Great to get 4 turnovers. Red zone turnover, just not so hot. There's room to grow. I think both programs got exactly what they wanted, and I'm loving seeing what Jalen Milroe is doing in this scheme. I thought on Saturday night was his best game in an Alabama uniform. Absolutely in control the whole time. Yes, a little bit of lack of focus, a little bit of focus issue, a little bit of decision-making issue in that third quarter. A little bit of kind of, detail issue in that third quarter. But you also have to give Georgia credit for fighting and for making those details a little bit fuzzy in the third quarter. And look, when it mattered most, Jalen Milroe said, hey, not today, 75 yards to my child, Ryan Williams, 4 + 2 = 6. It was an amazing time. And we cannot wait to keep covering Alabama football right here on the Joe Gaither Show. We're going to keep doing it. Up there in Nashville this week. We will be on the road trip. It'll be my second of 3 road trips for the year. Cannot wait to get up to Nashville. And we'll see Diego Pavia, Clark Lee. It's not Joe Daddy's Vanderbilt Commodores. They're fighters. And we'll get into the Vanderbilt Commodores as we continue on the week. It's been a great time. I know we went just a little longer than usual today. Thanks for everybody watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Thanks for everybody who's watching us on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. We had over 100,000 views from the BamaCentral YouTube channel from Sunday, from all of our stuff for Saturday. So if you missed anything from the game, post-game interviews with Kirby Smart, with Carson Beck, with Ryan Williams, with Xavier Brown, with Jalen Milroe, all that stuff's right there on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. You can see myself walking off the field with Xavier Brown right there, getting big old hugs from everybody. You want to be subscribed to the BamaCentral YouTube channel, and we'd appreciate if you did that. We'll get out of here for the day by thanking Purple Turtle Roofing one more time. Make sure you call Dustin Foley at 877-PT-ROOF 5. That's 877-787-6635. One of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free. You need that free roof inspection. You need to check out, make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. Visit them online today at roofturtle.com. We'll get out of here. We appreciate you guys so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com.